All right, so I'm gonna have you guys just look at these videos, right? I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what you're gonna see here. And what you're gonna see is basically inmates acting out in some what we tend to think of as pretty unpredictable manners. So take a look.
Watch the great job these guys do. All right, inmate attempts to commit suicide or hurt himself. They're right in there. I can't even believe they caught him. Great job, guys. But once again, unpredictable, something that they may or may not have been reasoning out based on what was going on. Get him into cuffs, keep the inmate safe. This one here, that's actually an attempted escape. He hurts himself. They managed to get down there, but once again, they had not put themselves in his shoes.
All right, so all of that stuff there, very harrowing, potential to hurt staff, potential to escape, potential to die in some of those cases. So what's the one thread that you think brings all of these together? And this is key toward understanding inmate behavior and making yourself safer and not falling into complacency. So I'm going to introduce you to a real easy word here. Risk. All right. So what do we think of when we think of risk? Well, we think about risk assessments. We think about, deciding whether or not an inmate is high risk or low risk, or whether or not the transport we're taking them out on is high risk or low risk. But the thing that we tend not to think of is how much risk is an inmate willing to engage in, and if so, why? So pretty much, going through things, when we see this word right here, antisocial, this is what creates risk in an inmate. Antisocial is not about not being a friendly person. Antisocial literally means going against society, going against societal norms, and committing crimes. This right here is what a lot of antisocial personality types, or those with antisocial personality features, do. They engage in a lot of risk. And what are some of those risky behaviors that we see? Well, they go inside the mini mart and they pull a gun and they pull a crime, right? Or they're willing to just, maybe engage in a lot of domestic violence. They're willing to go out there and perhaps engage with police officers in chases and shootouts and things like that. And the reason that we have to know about this word risk, the reason that we really have to know about it is because of this, is if we're able to take this word right here, right? Empathy. If we can take empathy and we can use empathy to our advantage, we can decrease the amount of risk, not that the inmate's willing to take, but the amount of risk that we're willing to engage in. So how does that work? Everybody misunderstands this, right? Because they think it sounds like sympathy. And I've been guilty too, not of not understanding that, but of not necessarily getting that point across, because we always compare empathy with sympathy. But they're nothing alike, and they don't have anything to do. And this does not mean that you have some sort of emotional response to an inmate. Empathy is perspective, right? And perspective is what grants you the ability to see what an inmate might do, right? So as we're looking to see what an inmate might do, because we understand that they are willing to engage in a lot of risk, right? Then we're able to see what we might be doing wrong in that moment, what we might not be doing that could be proactive, preemptive, preventative in that moment in time. And that's why we want to engage in empathy. We want to see things from the inmate's perspective. I had a participant in one of the reentry projects that I was doing, and she was a long time heroin user, and she knew what the risks were, but she decided she was going to go ahead and slam fentanyl, just inject it straight into her body. And she knew that there was a chance that she might not come back from that. And in fact, 3 cans of Narcan and a couple of shocks to her heart later, she was brought back, but she was willing to engage in that risk for just the thrill. And so a lot of times we can't put ourselves into that position because we are not that antisocial word, right? We are not antisocial personality types. We engage in the norm and the pro-social things about society and our communities and so forth. So when we look at that, this is what we are. We are risk averse. All right. So risk averse means that we don't take those kind of risks. And the reason we don't take those kind of risks are because we're not antisocial personality types. And the reason that we have a hard time putting ourselves into the brain of an inmate and understanding what risks that they're willing to accept, when we see these kinds of videos where, it just came out of the blue and these officers, they weren't ready, it's because they didn't understand the risk that an inmate was willing to take, because they, by and large, are risk averse. All right. So this is a concept I wanted to bring to you real quick and to make you understand how being risk averse leads you to complacency. The reason it leads you to complacency is because you're not projecting or accepting or understanding what it is that an inmate sees from his perspective, right? And so this complacency is just, well, I think that this person's pretty much like me. I think that they pretty much accept the same risks. And a lot of this happens on the subconscious level. But when we understand what their life has been like, when we understand what they are going through, when we understand what it is that they're willing to do to escape or to escape from a sentence, even by committing suicide, then we start to put that complacency away. We start to be able to understand the risk of the situation that we're in so that we can remain actually risk averse instead of just believing we're safe. And I'm going to share with you one more time that saying of mine over and over again. Complacency is situational awareness perceived but not achieved. And when we understand that, then we can start being much more safe. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys will remember about the whole April 19th with Guardian RFID. If you don't make that one with the Vision 22, be sure and check out any and all of their products even afterwards. They just have an incredible amount of products to offer that really do stack up and help maintain safety. Anyway, this is Russ Hamilton. I'm signing off.